is in the air. So now you're going to be humming that song for the rest of the week, I bet. And pollen is not a defensive mechanism. Unlike thorns on roses or in cacti, it's not developed to prevent us from damaging or any other predators from damaging these plants. Pollen is part of the reproductive process of plants. It's actually the male component of it. And unlike humans, not all pollens are created equal. There are two types of pollen: larger, stickier grains that are transported from one plant to the other by birds and insects. So you remember that birds and bees talk? That's exactly how it travels. And then we also have another set of pollens that are much smaller pollen grains that travel from plant A to plant B, transported by air. And other environmental elements also play a role, like water. So Alan, I'm really sad you picked up the water because I wanted to use that prop, so sorry. Okay, so these pollen grains travel from point A, from point B, transported by air. And the most successful strategy for this kind of plants is to throw as many pollen grains in the air as possible. So for this kind of pollen, they are like Latinas in a party. The more, the merrier. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And so, in the middle of this process where pollens are traveling from one side to the other, guess what happens? We step in the way. We humans step in the way, and what happens? We inhale it, and it's a complete waste of resources for plants. Imagine their frustration and saying, oh my God, not again! There goes my effort, there goes my pollen grain. And for us, what happens for humans? Well, if you're anything like my son or my daughter, you inhale this and you start having a hell of a time because your eyes get itchy, watery, red, your nose starts running, and you have to blow it every couple of minutes, and then you might even have trouble breathing. Some people even develop asthma attacks because of their pollen allergies. So this doesn't happen to everybody. Not everybody is equally affected. And this happens because in humans, the immune response is a scale of grace. So on one side, you have people, for example, diagnosed with AIDS, where their immune system cannot really respond to the threats in their environment. In the middle, you have their adequate immune response, where we detect the proteins in a virus, the proteins in a bacteria, and we really neutralize them efficiently in a reasonable amount of time. And in the other side of this scale of grace, of this continuum, we have what is called an enhanced heightened immune response, allergies, where our immune system detects the proteins in the pollen grains and deploys what I like to call a shoot first, ask questions later response. Everything, all arms in deck, right? And then here we have an issue here, because our immune system goes into overdrive. We have conjunctivitis, rhinitis, asthma attacks, and there's a huge issue here because many more people than in the past are affected by these issues. So it's a worldwide public health concern, everybody. And if you stop to think, what has changed in this same amount of time as the number of people who now suffer from allergies, it's not genes, it's too short of a period of time. So we're not joining the Umbrella Academy or the X-Men because of a mutation that makes us all allergic to pollen. No, it has to be our environment. And what has changed in the same amount of time in our environment? Well, climate change. And so you see graphs that document the temperature change, go like this, big rays, like a hockey stick. You're familiar with that, of course. And for example, we also have CO2 going up, and the same happens with the number of people who have allergies up there. Why is this happening? Because this CO2 and this temperature increases causes the pollen increases. So plants are throwing more pollen grains in the air, and they're also throwing them for longer periods of time. This is not your imagination. The pollen season is lasting forever now, right? So it starts earlier, ends later, and we just saw a new study published with Canadian data, this is very important, that showed that, in effect, the pollen season is being longer, and there are many more pollen grains in the air. So allergies are one of the health impacts of climate change, one of the many health impacts of climate change. What can we do about it? Well, first of all, you can stand behind any initiative that helps mitigate climate change. And second of all, more in the line of adaptation, you could do two things. One, purchase an air purifier with a HEPA filter that will reduce the amount of pollen grains inside your home. And two, go to your walking clinic. Talk to your prescription medications that you can take in order to manage your symptoms and truly enjoy that love is in the air regardless of the pollen in the air. Thank you.